and transition it all the way from startup through terminal countdown. So let's listen into that now.
Stage 2 locks will close off for flight. Vehicles in self-line. Gas closeouts have started.
AFTS is ready for launch.
Falcon 9's in startup. Stage 2 tanks pressing for flight.
Falcon 9 and ZUMA are go for launch.
T-minus 30 seconds.
Stage 1 tanks pressing for flight.
T-minus 15 seconds. Stand by for terminal count. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Liftoff.
Procedure 3.70 for bus down pilots.
Propulsion's on.
Vehicles for ready to launch.
Power and telemetry nominal.
And you see on your screen, we have had successful liftoff of Falcon 9 carrying ZUMA. We have cleared the tower, so we're now coming up on 2 events that is going supersonic and max Q. Now, maximum aerodynamic pressure is when we are at the point of maximum stress on the vehicle. From that point on, we're going through thinner and thinner atmosphere, so stress will continually decrease. And we've just passed max Q, so again, that means that as we ascend higher and higher, the atmosphere is thinner, and we do not need to have as much stress on the vehicle. Now, we're going to go through 4 events here in rapid succession, and those are in order: MECO, stage separation, SES-1, and the boost backburn. Now, MECO stands for main engine cutoff. That's when the first stage stops firing. There follows stage separation, when first and second stage depart from each other. SES-1 is the 3rd event. That stands for second engine start. That's when second stage begins firing. And then the 4th event in that sequence is the boost backburn. That's when first stage begins firing again to start its trajectory back to landing zone 1. Now that sequence will occur at about 15 seconds in duration, starting about 15 seconds from now.
Oh, 7, this is RC on countdown. Please, relinquish control of the camera, please.
Roger. States have confirmed.
Stage 1 has entered its flight.
The live stream today will focus completely on the first stage returning and landing, as the second stage and the payload are subject to some secrecy.
Now we've had successful confirmation of, again, MECO, stage separation, second engine start, and the boost back burn. Now, next major milestone is fairing separation. That should occur any second now. We're not going to show video coverage of it, but we will confirm that the fairings have separated, meaning that ZUMA and second stage are the only vehicles continuing on to their final orbit.
Stage 1 boost back shutdown.
Now we can clearly see the first stage from the ground in the night sky. There don't seem to be clouds in the way. However, it is not just after sunset like it was at the Vandenberg launch that was mistaken by many people for a UFO. So there isn't quite as visible an exhaust trail because there is no sun in the upper areas illuminating the whole thing, as it is more deeply into the night. We can make a few assumptions about ZUMA's destination orbit, though it is still subject to quite a bit of secrecy. But we know that they land back at Cape Canaveral, so it does seem to take very little fuel. They don't do a drone ship landing, and they don't use the Falcon 9 expandably. They land back at Cape Canaveral, which means that the payload capacity is vastly reduced. So we know that ZUMA is probably a...
All right, so we'll address the fairing deployment here in a second once we have more information. But for now, we're going to shift our transition back to the focus on the secondary mission, which is the landing and recovery of the first stage. Now, it is nighttime, so we're looking at a black screen, but we should be able to see some burning of the second and third burns here in the landing sequence. Quick sidebar, we did get successful confirmation that the fairings did deploy. So the primary mission has concluded up to this point successfully, and now ZUMA and second stage are continuing on to their final orbit. So we will focus back to the secondary mission now, which is this 3-burn phase of the landing of the first stage. Now, we already saw the boost back burn and got confirmation of that. The 2 remaining burns are the re-entry burn and the landing burn. Now, the second is the re-entry burn, and that is solely intended to decelerate the vehicle so that we go through the atmosphere subject to as little stress as possible. As I mentioned earlier, heat and pressure can accumulate. That thermal stress is very severe. As you go through the denser and denser atmosphere, you want to be going as slowly as possible. So we perform a re-entry burn just prior and during re-entry so that we have as little stress as possible on the vehicle. Now, that will happen at about T plus 6 minutes and 17 seconds, and that re-entry burn will last for about 15 seconds. So we'll tune into that.
Stage 1 entry burn has started.
We do know that ZUMA is probably a rather small payload. Now, it might be a very small geostationary payload or a rather smallish lower orbit payload, probably not quite low Earth orbit.
And stage 1 entry burn shut down.
And as you just heard and saw, we had successful startup and shutdown of the re-entry burn, the second of 3 burns in the phase to get back to landing zone 1. Now, the third and final one, as it is self-named, is the landing burn. This one lasts a little bit longer. It's about 17 seconds in duration. It's coming up in about 30 seconds. We should get pretty good footage of it coming down from the top of the screen. And again, that's a 17-second burn. So the legs deploy and we touch down on the surface of landing zone 1 here in this attempt.
Stage 1 is transonic.
And we're just going subsonic, and with the speed of sound you will very soon hear a triple sonic boom from the Falcon 9 first stage.
Stage 1 landing burn has started.
And we just got the Twitter-sonic boom characteristic for the
Landing lights have deployed.
shape of the bottom, the top, and the grid fins.
LZ1, Falcon 9 is landed. Landing operator movement should be 11.1 RCR1 and we're up to
Video feed has on.
And the Falcon